Now, there's a story that I want to read. I'm sure that you've all heard it. It's not a bedtime story, so I know you've had lunch and a big morning. So if you can bear with me, I want to read it again. Once upon a time, there was a wise man who used to go to the ocean to do his writing. He had a habit of walking on the beach before he began his work. And one day, as he was walking along the shore, he saw in the distance what he thought was somebody dancing. And it really intrigued him. He thought, wow, no inhibitions, dancing on the beach. And then as he got closer, he noticed it was actually a young man. And he wasn't actually dancing at all. He just kept bending down and then throwing things. And he came closer, he said, "Good morning. May I ask what you're doing?" And the young man paused and looked up and he said, "Oh, I'm throwing starfish back into the ocean." And the older man said, "Why? Why are you throwing starfish into the ocean?" To this the young man replied, "Well, the sun is up and the tide's going out, and if I don't throw them in, they'll die." The wise man thought, "But have a look at how many there are. Do you really think that you're going to make a difference?" At this, the young man bent down, picked up yet another starfish and threw it into the ocean, and as it met the water, he said, "Well, I made a difference for that one." And today, I just think together, as we fight this thief called depression, as we choose to break the silence on this and other mental health issues, we can make a difference. It starts with the power of one. And we do for the one what we'd actually like to be seen to be doing to the many. It starts with me. It can literally start with me. So let's look at some ways that we can support those who have depression. Ladies, you'll have to forgive me because I, in my limited capacity, thought Men's Shed will be a men's only event. So you're now mates. All right, I hope that's okay. And what do mates do? Mates trust their gut. We have this instinctual thing. You've noticed your mate. They're just not quite the life of the party like they used to be. Things are just different. I don't know what it is. It never comes out anymore. So we trust that gate, that instinct. What happens in these times is we can often talk to, so Bob will talk to Bill about the fact that Paul is, "Have you seen him lately?" So we'll have a conversation this way about this one. So I would encourage us to break that silence from this way and, "Hey mate, what's happening?" We can ask them, "Are you okay?" Especially if it turns over. Yes, there it is. What will happen with a lot of us is we'll say, "Yeah," because one, we have no motivation to talk, and two, we could be shamed. We mentioned that shame or guilt is certainly a characteristic of depression. So in these situations, what you might say sensitively, mates will talk sensitively about the fact of what we've noticed. "Well, I've noticed that you just don't come out anymore, mate. We used to go fishing every week. What's happening? I care about you." So we'll talk about things sensitively. We won't be saying things like, "Get over it. Come on." We won't sort of bully because we've got a person, basically they're in crisis. And so we'll talk sensitively. We'll let them know, "Hey, we've got your back. We're here for you." Mates also learn to be okay with the uncomfortable. And we talked before about we can have that. Sometimes they'll ask questions that we don't have an answer for. And I know you blokes, you're used to fixing things and solving things. And that's one of your strengths. And we struggle. Women, we're great at listening to the feelings, but we're not good at necessarily picking up content. Men listen to the content and need to listen to the feelings. And part of these feelings will be feelings of uncomfortableness and awkwardness. And what we want to do is learn to not let that feeling stop me from reaching out to my mate, stop me from reaching out for my own help. learn to become okay with the uncomfortable. Mates learn to allow their mates the freedom of expression without offering the opinion, without fixing it. And then mates check in again. Listen, is it okay if I ring you next week? Is it okay if we, meet up tomorrow? We don't just take the, yeah, it's okay. We check in again. And there's a couple of reasons to check in. Because you care, because you've got their back. Also, and I'm sure Claude would have touched on this, often people, well, I shouldn't say that, but often people with depression, when it gets to the place where, you know what, life's actually, everybody is better off without me. They'll often make a plan, and when they make that plan, it takes this whole weight off their shoulder. I've worked it out, because before this I couldn't fix it. I could not get rid of this emptiness. I couldn't get rid of my stuff. But if I do that, because I'm irrational by this time, I'm underweight, I'm lack of sleep, I have no rational thoughts. But if I do that, my family's better off. They'll actually manage so much better. So that takes the weight off me. I no longer feel responsible for the way that I am in the house. So a mate will check in when there's this sudden change back to he's okay. Because he may well be, or she may well be meeting up with you to say goodbye for one last time. So checking in again is very important. Mates let mates know that it is okay not to feel okay, and we talked about that before. Mates let them know that I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I actually care about you. And it may be in fact it will be a long haul. So better off to get a couple of mates with you. And important to recognise that we have to put boundaries in place, because there are sometimes you just can't meet your mate. We're very careful to take the information we have, do what we can to be with them, but we do not take responsibility for their actions. We can only take responsibility for ourselves. I just want you to really hear that clearly, because you may have known someone, you may know somebody who will in the future take their life. We cannot be responsible for their actions. We are responsible for our actions. Hence you're all here learning a little bit more about it. Recognising with the care that sometimes, and I had two particularly good friends with me that were prepared to walk with me even though it was a very one-sided relationship, until the day that I could smile again and I could find joy again. So with what we've talked about, if you've got some bells ringing or you're recognising perhaps symptoms in yourself or in one of your mates, I just want to reiterate again. Seek help. Talk to them. But if it's you, seek help. Certainly that handout that I've given you has some good websites and phone. Other strategies that we can employ are we will acknowledge our feelings. Acknowledge that if we've got stuff happening, we've got to take the lid off. We've got to become real. We've got to acknowledge, you know what, I used to be able to manage and now I can't. And it's okay to not feel okay. It's time to be truthful, because it's this thief that robs us. Sometimes we need another mate, we need medication, we need counselling, we need whatever it takes to resist this thief. It's time to acknowledge that I'm actually not okay. I've tried and I just can't do it. And it's time to acknowledge that we need help. When we get to these stages, that's the beginning of the change that we actually desire. Because denial is huge. One of our coping factors around guilt and around shame is denial. So that's sort of for us to take it in, So when we're with our mates, and if we go back and we're talking about that it's okay to not feel okay, we could mention, you know, I've just noticed you just don't seem like you're the same anymore. There's this sadness, so you're picking up on the feeling, there's this sadness about you all the time, or I don't know, it's like you can't be bothered. What's going on? Where you may have noticed that they always managed before, or maybe they were a little bit disorganised, but they still got the act together. Again, it could be something that you're looking for and you're noticing with them. And I will often say to people, and one thing that they'll take away with them is, because if I'm seeing people, and I'll say, well, what was helpful today? One of the things over and over that has been helpful is that the permission to not be okay. And we can give that to others. We can let them know, it's okay that we don't all manage. It's okay to feel like life's crap. Like we just, my life's a toilet. I don't know what to do anymore. A great question can be, mate, if you need help, where would you go? Who would you talk to? Do you have anybody in your life? And I think for us to help them come to this place, but also help ourselves, and help, just help with the acknowledgement that, I've got some great websites here, and I've just noticed these things, and I wondered, you might want to check it out.